John, Australians seeking food relief at least once a week has doubled this year. How has coronavirus impacted food security?
It's had a massive impact. What we've seen is people who, for the first time in their lives, have suddenly found themselves in a situation where they're unable to put food on the table. We've seen a lot of people who've described themselves as middle-class families who've suddenly been impacted by COVID. I mean, one example we had was a family in Western Sydney. The mother had set herself up in a travel agency business in February and tipped all her life savings in, and suddenly COVID came along and she found herself in a situation where she couldn't access JobKeeper or JobSeeker. Her husband worked in an area where he couldn't access that either. And they suddenly went from, just getting on with life like so many other people, paying a mortgage and living their lives, to finding themselves in a situation where they had to reach out for help. And we've seen thousands of people who've suddenly found themselves in that situation.
It's heartbreaking. On top of losing work, we've also had to deal with lockdowns. How has lockdown impacted food security?
So lockdown's really changed how we've had to operate, because we've had to deliver food hampers. We generally, our charities come in and they collect food and then they distribute that, or people come into those charities and actually collect the food. This year we've distributed 70,000 food relief hampers on top of what we would regularly do. 20,000 hampers for Christmas and 50,000 emergency food relief hampers. We don't expect that's likely to change. And on top of that, we've been working with the universities to deliver food hampers to international students who, again, have found themselves in Australia. A lot of them work in hospitality jobs. Those jobs disappeared very quickly with the lockdowns. And so they're looking for support as well. So we've worked with the universities, and they're providing through us food hampers to international students. The governments have helped us out with that, with funding, so we can make sure those international students aren't disadvantaged as a result of this. But we've seen families right across the spectrum who, for the first time in their lives, have been impacted. We've watched our demand increase significantly right across Australia. Our charities have told us that they've seen an increase of about 48% in demand, and that's obviously very challenging during these times.
Is that 48% increase in demand a comparison last year, so this Christmas compared to last Christmas?
It is an increase in comparison to last year, and most of that's attributed to the fact that we've seen the impacts of COVID, of the lockdowns, people losing their jobs and those sorts of things. And we're preparing come March next year, when the JobSeeker and JobKeeper payments cease, the safe harbour laws stop. We expect we're going to see an even bigger increase as all those payments are wound up and people suddenly find themselves in those difficulties. We're already seeing it with people that are over-mortgaged, people who'd taken those opportunities to reduce or stop their payments, and now they find themselves actually with increased mortgage payments. I was talking to a charity just 20 minutes ago that was in here collecting food, and they were saying in the area of Goulburn in New South Wales, they've just dropped off 90 hampers, and the woman that runs that charity showed me a photo as she pulled up in this car park. There were about 75 cars already parked up and waiting for her to arrive with the food relief hampers just this week.
A lot of lucky Australians are having Christmas lunch tomorrow. What is your message to them, and what should they be doing if they find that there's a few extra things they have on the table?
I think you should reach out to your local charities. If you're inclined, you can donate to Foodbank. We can convert, for $10, we can convert that into 20 meals. And it's one of the ways you can do it. But if not, if you've got stuff left over, reach out to one of your local charities and see if they are happy to take that. You'll find that most of them are very happy to get whatever support they can, because all the charities we work with 2,700 charities right across Australia. They're all telling us that, they need more, because demand's increased so significantly. So while people are enjoying their Christmas like most will, I think what we've seen this year is that the lucky country is not lucky for a growing number of people right across Australia through no fault of their own.
Great advice to get involved with charities. John Robertson, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, Gab.